Well, I'm confused then. If you hosted Hamas here and sent money to Gaza, both of those things at the request of the U.S. government and the Israeli government, successive Israeli governments, why did Israel bomb your country?
I don't know if any of the actions that's been or many of the actions that's been taken been justified or rationalized or even were ethical actions. To have the mediator being bombed by one of the parties of the conflict, this has been unprecedented.
Over the weekend, Tucker Carlson visited the Doha conference in Qatar, and he even took time to interview the prime minister. His name is Mohammed Abdul Rahman Al Thani. And now all of Tucker Carlson's Israel First nemesis are absolutely furious with him. That's the fun part of the story. But before we get to it, Cenk, your 2 cents.
Whether we like it or not, Qatar is our top ally in the Middle East. We have a base there. They house our troops. They help negotiate peace treaties. We have gas deals with them. They're actually useful allies. Israel is a totally useless ally that sucks off of us and takes our money and gets us into wars and conflicts. And so now you're going to see the Israeli bootlickers in America tell us about how we should serve Israel and not actually deal with our real ally, which is Qatar.
So Tucker opened the conversation with the prime minister by discussing the various accusations that Qatar has been dealing with, including the allegation that it finances terrorists, including Hamas. Here's how Al Thani responded.
The main criticism seems to revolve around Hamas, and the idea is that your country and you specifically are supporters of Hamas, your terror financiers. My understanding is Hamas is here in Doha because the United States and Israel asked you to host Hamas.
Starting off the relationship with Hamas and the communication was started back more than 10 years, 13 years ago, at the request of the United States. All our aid and all our support and financing that went and what they claimed that it went to Hamas, went to Gaza, went to the people, and it was under very transparent process that the United States is fully aware about. Israel is the one who's facilitating, and it's not one government, it was across governments. Netanyahu, Bennett, we have dealt with all the agencies. Lapid was a prime minister at a certain point of time, Mossad, Shin Bet, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, all of and the defense, all of them, they were involved in these aids and the delivery of those aids.
I don't really know how any country could trust the United States or especially Israel. I mean, we all know that Netanyahu facilitated the funding of Hamas through Qatar. We all know that. It's now on the public record. And for those who want more information on that, great documentary to watch. It's available on Amazon, I believe, the Bibi Files. So why would you trust the United States when they say, please have Hamas here because we need a way to negotiate? You should never trust the United States government as long as it is aligned with Israel.
Yeah, but Anna, to be fair to us and to even be fair to Trump, he was kind of irate when Israel bombed Qatar, and for a number of reasons, including Qatar giving him a jet, et cetera, but also because Qatar has a huge military base that houses our troops there that we absolutely need and is very strategic for us. So we did stick up for Qatar a little bit, and that's the Israel First crowd was livid over that, right?
In fact. Sorry to interrupt you, but since you're talking about that Trump being livid thing, remember you had the Israelis claim, no, we got Trump's blessing to do strikes in Qatar, or Qatar. That came up during this discussion. So I just want to play that video real quick before you finish your point. Take a look.
President Trump basically told the Israelis to apologize to you. He took your side. He took the side of an Arab country against Israel in this specific case. I don't think I've ever seen that before. I don't think it's ever happened before. What was your reaction to that?
Well, of course, President Trump was very clear from the beginning since the attack. Actually, when he was informed about the attack, he assigned one of his advisors to reach out to us. He expressed his frustration, his disappointment from such a thing that's happening by Israel, because he knows everything about the process and he knows how helpful we were throughout this process.
You're saying that the president didn't know that was going to happen. He was surprised.
It was very clear demonstration with all the actions that this is something happened against his will, and he doesn't accept it.
Now, Trump's actions in essentially favoring Israel, regardless of what they do, has led me to believe that he's not someone to be trusted on this issue at all. So, and look, we hear about US presidents wagging their fingers at Israel or writing strongly worded letters. I don't buy any of it. But in this case, I'm going to go ahead and believe the prime minister of Qatar. It does appear that Trump was really upset that Israel did what it did in carrying out these strikes. And remember, he also forced Benjamin Netanyahu to apologize to Qatar in a phone conversation. So I will believe that. But I think it probably has to do with the fact that Qatar has served as an intermediary, a real important ally in establishing, ceasefires, peace deals, things like that.
So look, the context shows you who you can trust and can't trust. So for example, with Qatar, I've never seen them go back on anything that they promised. As far as that I've ever seen in covering news for 30 years now. The Saudis, on the other hand, pretend to be our allies, and 15 out of the 19 9/11 hijackers were Saudi. And during the insurgency in Iraq, the Saudis funded a lot of the insurgency against us. So proof's in the pudding. Now, when you get to Israel, oh my God, you'd be nuts to trust them. They're the least trustworthy country on the planet. They give you a pager, it's gonna blow up. They give you anything that's involved with cybersecurity, and it's totally jerry-rigged to give them all your information. They spy on even their top allies like us endlessly. They betray every word they give. They ask Qatar to host Hamas. They asked them. And then they bomb Qatar for hosting Hamas. I mean, it doesn't get any more untrustworthy than that. And that's Israel in a nutshell. I think every so-called ally of Israel is doing it under duress. I think that there are forces inside their governments and their media that is forcing them to support Israel, because no rational human being would consider Israel an ally when they betray their allies 24/7.
So let's talk a little bit about how people reacted to Tucker Carlson, A, being in Qatar in the first place, and B, having this conversation with the prime minister. So as we mentioned, Carlson's three biggest haters, that includes Laura Loomer, Mark Levin, and Senator Ted Cruz, all spent the weekend just absolutely raging out about this. Loomer wrote that Qatar wants the United States to pay for rebuilding Gaza. Tucker Carlson interviewed the prime minister in Doha today, and he said Qatar isn't going to pay for Gaza to be rebuilt. You see, Qatar had no problem financing the destruction of Gaza by continuing to fund Hamas. This woman is so stupid. Like, she's so ignorant, dumb, and also physically unappealing. Like, this woman is like, there's nothing going for her. Okay. Your daddy, Bibi, okay, facilitated the funding of Hamas through Qatar, you freaking idiot, number one. Number two, why would any country be responsible for paying for the reconstruction of Gaza, which the Israelis are hell-bent on snatching for themselves? You want foreign countries to bankroll the construction of Israeli settlements? Because that's essentially what would happen, number one. Number two, let's say in a perfect scenario in which Palestinians are allowed to return to, where their homes used to be in Gaza and still are able to access land that belongs to them. Shouldn't Israel and the United States, since we armed them, gave them the bombs to destroy that entire enclave, shouldn't we be the ones that fund the reconstruction of Gaza for the Palestinians specifically? Which, by the way, it sucks to even have to do that, right? But we're the ones who caused the destruction.
So Anna, there's two different parts of Gaza. And so the part where the Palestinians still live, Israel destroyed it. And so if anyone pays, it should be Israel. But of course they'll never pay because they're brutal occupying terrorists. Terrorists don't pay for their own crimes. But there's 53% of Gaza that Israel now occupies. And they say comical things like, yeah, you should pay us to rebuild it for Israel, and then Israel should keep it. Oh, wink, we'll give it back at some point. They're never gonna give it back. And why would I pay for you to build condos on Palestinian children's graves? You freaking monsters. Nobody's gonna pay for that half.
Over the weekend, Israel announced that the yellow line is the new border between Gaza and Israel.
Yeah, that's it. And the yellow line is where 53% of Gaza is now being occupied by Israel. And so they're saying, yeah, we stole it. The Young Turks were 100% right. This was always about mass murder, ethnically cleansing the Palestinians off of half of Gaza and stealing Gaza. But when you watch traditional media, those liars will lie to you on behalf of Israel. And if you ask them, hey, did Israel take half of Gaza? They'll say yes, but they're gonna let the Palestinians back in. Well, you said what they just voted that they're never letting the Palestinians back in. Yes, but shut up, you're an anti-Semite. So yeah, I mean, look, what Tucker Carlson did there was a perfectly normal interview with a head of state who's an ally of ours. Loomer and Ted Cruz and all those guys, they work for Israel, so they spent the weekend kissing Netanyahu's sphincter. So yeah.
Loomer also made fun of Carlson's former struggles with alcoholism. He's been sober for many, many years now. Stated that Carlson's goal was to lose Republicans the midterms, and also predicted that he would convert to Islam because he can't be part of a religion that worships a Jew. Now, Mark Levin stated that Carlson was pimping for Qatar. In fact, look, I will say this: the only real contribution that Mark Levin has made to American society is the hilarious nickname of Carlson, which I know he's like trying to insult him, but I think it's really funny and I like saying it. But Senator Ted Cruz, took it up a notch and said live footage of Tucker Carlson interviewing the Prime Minister of Qatar, and then he featured a photoshopped image or AI image of Tucker Carlson spreading his legs. No mention of how often Ted Cruz spreads his legs for anyone who he might think could help him politically or might help him ingratiate himself with power players in the Republican Party. But anyway, Cenk, final word.
So yeah, for example, we don't take any money from any foreign government, Qatar or otherwise, right? Ted Cruz is taking millions of dollars from the Israeli lobby. So that picture and all of these accusations by all of them are just telling on themselves. So when Mark Levin says, oh, he's just representing Qatar in America, that's because Mark Levin represents Israel in America, and he thinks everyone is a traitor like him. He's just trying to figure out, who are you a traitor for? Mark, others are not traitors. Only you think that way, and your fellow Israel First people like Laura Loomer, et cetera, who love betraying our country for the country they actually love. And then when I see that picture of the spread legs, I think Ted Cruz must have photoshopped it from his own collection. So, because that is all that Ted Cruz has ever done, is open up his sphincter in his mouth for Israeli donors, and they have pummeled him repeatedly. And he has loved it. He has loved every minute of it. He has loved betraying the voters of Texas, betraying the voters of America on behalf of a foreign country. And he often will admit it, including on Tucker Carlson's show. He says, I got into the Senate to serve Israel. I'm not saying you're a traitor. You're kind of saying you're a traitor. And these guys have the nerve, the audacity to criticize anyone for just interviewing a foreign official. Dude, you interviewed a foreign official with your mouth, okay? And so don't tell me about how you're worried about foreign influence when they're inside your mouth. Yeah, Ted Cruz, take Netanyahu out of your mouth, and then maybe I could hear you.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.